he found out somehow that I did music, and he asked if I wanted to make a song for Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2. That is the actual title, otherwise known as Return to Nukem High Volume 2. And there's a scene in there where Lloyd, he's the villain, and no spoilers, but it's spoilers, it's trauma, it doesn't matter. Lloyd does the famous Buffalo Bill scene, Goodbye Horses, where he actually tucks his penis behind his legs. He does it in this movie, and they were looking for a knockoff of Goodbye Horses. And I did it, and it worked. It's in the movie. So then Matt always kept that in the back of his mind, so that when it actually came time for the last drive-in, they asked if I wanted to take a shot at a demo for the theme song, and it just worked.
Yeah. It's
So
iconic.
I'm grateful that oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's the major thing that I love about that's come out of the last drive-in is that I've told this story a few times. I wrote that song, the theme song, in mind with Muppets. I was picturing like Muppets in a graveyard that were like werewolves, zombies, mummies, all the ghouls in a graveyard that was next to a drive-in, celebrating the fact that Joe Bob was returning to town to go to that drive-in. And unfortunately, our budget wasn't there.
Right.
But the fact that little kids, there's
Yeah.
parents put the videos up of little kids singing the song, it lets me know that I was on the right track.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it could have been a song that the Muppets sang,
Right.
So
Right. You and Paul
really,
Williams, man.
I swear to God, I said this a few times as well. Paul Williams is in my DNA, and I didn't realize it until much later in life that first Muppet movie, like Moving Right Along, Moving Right Along has informed almost every single song I ever wrote, even the weirdest ones, like, the ones that are about barbecue and vagina. Like, Paul Williams is in there. Somehow
Yeah.
he got to me as a child,
Yeah, there's some
And
great change-ups and tempos.
and then later on, being old enough to appreciate Phantom of the Paradise.
Mhm.
Whoo! I mean, Upholstery, that song alone, he should be forever. And he's interesting also because now he's the head of ASCAP, right? The president. He's just an interesting dude. I hope one day I can meet him before one of us dies.
Yeah. But you currently have a band. So are you still playing Irish bars or?
Well, so that's funny. Is like the Big Feat is only because of Joe Bob. I mean, it was I wrote the song, but then I was like, I want to get other people to play on it who are better than me. I want to get musicians who will elevate the material. So one of the people, actually two, was Jimmy Adamson, who works at Troma, as he was the production coordinator on Shakespeare's Shitstorm. He's been in punk bands for 22 years, and he's just like can hold it down. So he plays drums. And then this guy Levi White, who I found out, he worked at Troma for 2 years with me. I never knew he was a masterful guitar player. The guy can play classical, this, that. He's the one who arranged and performs the famous,
The
acoustic
intro
version. Yeah, everybody loves that version even more than the real thing. And I'm like, thank God, because he is really an unsung like musician. So anyway, we got together and we've done one live show, but we want to do more. The pandemic hit and all that stuff. But we did this show in Brooklyn with Ship to Shore, who puts out the 45s and stuff, Ship to Shore Phonoco. And it was a huge hit. Like, people loved us. Like, we really did well. And it was surprising to me because every time that I played with another band on the first gig, it's never good.
Right.
But this one was like, we actually did it. So we're planning on doing more. Once the pandemic lifts, I want to do a night. I've always wanted to do something called the 80s movie soundtrack set, where we just do songs from 80s movie soundtracks, like Rocky IV, Karate Kid, Monster Squad, whatever. We just do a set of like 30 songs from 80s movies. And that's what we're working on. That's coming soon. Hopefully 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So it's just a trio. You got a power trio going on?
Well, no, then my girlfriend's brother, I didn't know, he played bass. And one day I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, I got to find somebody to play bass. And we were all just like chilling. And they're like, oh, Joe plays bass. I was like, great, fucking come along. He's like 21, he rips. And
Nice.
he was the final like piece of the puzzle. And
you're Tommy Stinson.
Exactly. And well, what happened was, like, I was playing guitar and Levi was playing. So we had two guitars, the drum and the bass. And then I realized, I said, you know what? These guys are so good. I don't need to play at all. I'm just going to sing. And I had never done that before. And it was liberating because then I could run around and get in people's faces and stuff. It was really fun. So I'm looking forward to more gigs with these guys.
That's excellent. Yeah. It's so crazy because I'm not lying when I say that the theme song is iconic, and it doesn't sound like it was made just for. I feel like it has been around forever. Like the very first time we
Thank you.
heard it, I just felt like, oh well, this. I even asked Jen. I was like, "Is this one from Monster Vision? Like, did they used to play
That's
this?"
amazing. Oh my
And
God.
because it just sounds so like it's just always been there.
Thank you. So, I mean,
And
it's a huge credit to everybody who got involved. The guy, I went to this place called the Ice Plant in Long Island City, which is a great, great place. I found that again through Trauma. Lloyd had to go and do like a voiceover there for a Motorhead game. And because he's in like some Xbox Motorhead game where he plays a bartender. So we recorded there, and I always remembered that place. And the guy, Wayne Silver, really cool, let us in for a really nice price. And then he had great ideas on how to like what guitars to use. And then on top of that, I got this guy Peter Sellers who helped with the Irish Drinking Band. He was he moved back to the UK, but he was able to send me a fiddle part, and I think that really helps a lot. And then the guy Wayne played organs, like all the pieces came together. So it's like I don't know, it's like the most professional thing I've ever done, but it also came so fast, and it
yeah,
was almost like one of the fastest things I've ever done creatively. So it might have just already been in the ether, and I was able to just pluck it out and
the
bring it out. You
conduit.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So everybody that did it made it like the best, the best possible version of it.
yeah. Well, let's talk
Yeah.
about how you first came across Henry, Ben, and Marcus.
Oh yeah. So this is really cool because like when I met those guys, they were still on the New York stages. So I'll tell you a little bit of the backstory how I got to them. Is I moved back from LA and I still wanted to do stuff. And before I found Trauma, I went to the Upright Citizens Brigade and I took sketch writing classes, but mostly just to meet people. And it Upright Citizens Brigade, while I enjoy some of it, the writing portion wasn't for me. The way that the people, it was all like Saturday Night Live worship. Everybody, even the teachers were like sort of aiming you to think that Saturday Night Live is the god, right? And that's just not. I mean, I love some of Saturday Night Live, but that's not my goal in life is to become a writer on Saturday Night Live. Anyway, um, then I got word that this place, the Pit, the People's Improv Theater, also had whatever sketch writing classes. So I went with them, and that's where the teacher there was like, dude, if you write this kind of stuff, you're gonna love Murder Fist. You got to see Murder Fist Saturday nights at like 10:45, 11. They go on in the underground stage. It's your jam. You're gonna love this. So I went alone on like a Saturday night just to like see what it was all about. And those guys were by far at that time, to me, the greatest thing happening on the New York comedy stages. I mean, they came out, they said, the first thing they said is, ladies and gentlemen, we are Murder Fist and we are here to fuck you. And they just come out like a punk rock like band. It's like 11, 12 of them go on stage and go nuts. And amongst them was Henry Zabrowski. And he did this one sketch, and I while he was doing it, I wasn't with Trauma at the time, and I was like, these guys would be perfect for Trauma. I said it to myself during the show. He did this sketch where he was on meth and he like takes his clothes off. He's basically naked at the end of it, but it was just like, this dude is the future. So that because that happened, one day I was asking my teacher who recommended Murder Fist to me. He was like, uh giving me advice on the Toxic Avenger Part 5 script. We read it because Lloyd asked us to. And he's like, oh, hey, Holden's from Murder Fist. I was like, no, hey, what's up, Holden? Nice to meet you. I love Murder Fist. He's like, we love Trauma. So I was like, hey, what if we try to get them together, something like that. And that's through that conversation, Trauma and Murder Fist actually did a couple of videos at the YouTube space in New York, right? And they had this like subway set. But those videos never saw the light of day because somebody in Murder Fist asked me not to put them out. But it's because they said that the way that they wrote the sketch, they thought that they didn't do it properly.
Hmm.
But anyway, through that, Henry was in one of them, and I got to talking to him, and then we went out drinking a few times, whatever. And I asked him to be in Return to Nukem High Volume 2, so he has a role in that. then on top of that, like Marcus came on the show Kabuki Man's Cocktail Corner with his band the Cowmen, which Holden McNeely's also in. And then they played Trauma Dance. They played the After Party, and then just slowly throughout the years, like I would see them or bump into them or work with them. Ben Kissel plays the voice of the Toxic Avenger in it's called A Very Trauma Christmas, and it's like a Family Guy-esque trauma holiday thing where he's Toxic. It's great. Yeah, those guys are awesome, man. They're like, I'm really happy that they blew up so huge because not only are they hilarious, I told you off the air, like those guys research. That's the real deal. That stuff is really, really in depth, and I love that because you get the real stuff, and then you get them jamming and throwing in the jokes and stuff. It's certainly the best podcast in my opinion right now.
Yeah, super entertaining, and I do love that they take subject matter that I think some people would think are only for academics, like the way that the kind of research they're doing. I mean, it's freaking university level shit.
It totally is. It
And
totally is. And Marcus is such a smart guy, and like I went to his I worked with Ben Kissel on this short documentary called Hail Yourself America. It's available on Vimeo. I did some stuff. I did the sound. I did the cinematography. I did a bunch of stuff, and we went to his office, and I'm like, this is where he does it. And you could tell it's like really organized and like really nice, and like he's got his like stand-up desk, but he also has a sit-down desk. Like the dude's at it all the time. You could tell, and he's such a smart guy. He's actually gonna take part in a documentary. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Kevin MacLeod.
sounds familiar.
Real quick, he basically has recorded like 30,000 songs, and he gives them all away for free as long as you credit him. It's the website is called incompetech.com. Marcus uses a lot of that guy's songs as interstitial music for the last podcast. So this guy I know is doing a documentary about him, and Marcus is going to give an interview. But see, he's like really generous with his time and stuff, that he would like take his time out to just do this thing for this guy. It's really cool.